All right, so here we are, ready to start chapter 5, all about algebraic expressions. This is our lesson 0 on prerequisite knowledge and the skills that we need to be successful in this chapter. So the reason there's a video for this lesson is because there is something new here that you need to see. So it's a little bit of review, a little bit of new stuff. Let's get started. So what are the steps to the order of operations? You already know: parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. Maybe you want to make a couple notes here, like parentheses could be, the regular parentheses, the brackets. Those are supposed to be square. There we go. Braces, the fraction bar, or absolute value that we talked about back in chapter 3. Exponents, multiplication and division, they are from left to right. And same for addition and subtraction, they are from left to right as well. Okay, so this is just some review from chapter 3. A little bit of review, a little bit of new stuff. Number 2 says to name the parts of this expression. So the first arrow I want to talk about is this one pointing to the 4. The 4 is called the exponent. Okay, so a lot of 7th graders think that the whole expression is called the exponent. Only the 4 is technically called the exponent. The 2 is called the base. So you probably remember that from 6th grade. Exponent is 4, the 2 is the base. So what in the world is this one pointing to? Well, this one is pointing to the whole expression, 2 to the 4th power. And the key word there is power. The whole thing, the whole expression is called a power. Okay, so those are your vocab words for that expression. The 4 is called the exponent, the 2 is the base, the whole thing is called the power, and it's read 2 to the 4th power. If we want to evaluate that expression, we take our base and we multiply it by itself 4 times, because that's what the exponent does. It tells us how many times to use the base as a factor in a multiplication problem. So we get 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and that is equal to 16. Okay. Number 4, this is something new. So this is our part of our video that's actually a little bit new. In this case, we're going to evaluate negative 3 to the 4th power when the negative 3 is in parentheses and when the negative 3 is not in parentheses. And there's a huge difference between these two expressions, and we actually get 2 different answers. Okay, so here's what you need to take notice. Take a look at what the exponent is actually touching. In the first problem, the exponent is touching the parentheses. That means everything inside the parentheses becomes the base. So this is negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. That's probably what you would have predicted we would write for that. Okay, a negative times a negative is a positive. So we'll get a positive answer from these two. A negative times a negative is a positive, so we get a positive answer from those two. So this ends up being a positive final answer, and that positive answer is 81. Now, a lot of students look at number 5 and think it's solved the exact same way. It's not. Number 5, we have to pay attention again. What is the exponent touching? The 4 is touching the 3. Just the 3. It's not touching that negative sign. That negative sign is there, but if we follow the order of operations, we are going to take 3 to the 4th power, and then we will make our final answer negative. So this work looks a little bit different. It looks like this. Our base in this problem is the positive number 3. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, and then that negative sign is actually outside the parentheses, making whatever our final answer is a negative. So 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81, and we make our final answer negative. So do you see how these two problems are solved differently? Because technically they have different bases. In number 4, everything inside the parentheses is the base. In number 5, the 4 is only touching the 3, so the base is 3, and the negative gets carried into our final answer. So question number 6 says, how are the expressions alike? Well, they are alike because they have the same exponent. Okay, that's basically the big similarity in these two problems. The expressions are alike because they have the same exponent. How are they different? They have different bases. In the first example, in number 4, the base is -3. In number 5, the base is +3. Okay, you need to write this whole thing in your notes. They have different bases. The base is -3 in number 4 because of those parentheses. In number 5, the base is +3, and we just make our answer negative. So they end up being different, different some of the time, not all the time. You'll play around and you'll see some examples and see what's up there. Okay, all right, number 7, how do we write 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 in exponential form? Well, first thing we want to do is pick out what's the base. The base is the number that keeps repeating over and over and over again. So the base is 5, and the exponent is how many times we're repeating that number. And there are 6 5s up here, so that is a 5 to the 6th power to write that problem in exponential form. Number 8, how do we write -4 times -4 in exponential form? Well, we have -4 as our base, so in order to make our base negative, we have to put it in parentheses, and then outside the parentheses, we put a 3, because there are 3 -4s in that problem. Okay? Last but not least, we have a couple example problems. Just refresh us from chapter 3. -5 plus 10, we've got more positives than negatives, so we're going to get a negative answer. We subtract because we're making 0 pairs. 10 minus 5 is +5. Okay. Number 10, -15 minus 17. The go word is minus, so I have to add a line and change the sign. So this becomes -15 plus -17. Negatives plus more negatives gets me a negative answer, and I'm going to have to add them together to get -32. Number 11, 12 plus -9. There's more positives than negatives, so I'm going to have a positive answer. Make 0 pairs, so I'll subtract. 12 minus 9 is 3. And number 12, -11 minus -35. We're going to add a line, change the sign. We have the new problem is -11 plus 35. I have more positives than negatives, so I'm going to have a positive answer once again. Make those 0 pairs, so I'm subtracting, and I get +24 as my final answer. Okay, just a review from chapter 3. There is 5.0 bookwork. I know we don't typically have bookwork for 5.0, the 0.0 lessons, but today I want to make sure we have mastered all these skills, so please head over to Schoology and complete your 5.0 bookwork. Ask any questions in class tomorrow.